One example on how to implement a reinvestment strategy is selling half on the double. And you might think, wow, selling 50% of a good position already after a 2x, does that make a lot of sense? Yes, and I will explain why it does make sense. Do realize for yourself that, of course, there are many ways of implementing this selling half on the double strategy. So try to adjust and tweak according to your own preferences. Okay, selling half on the double in words. So when your position is at a 2x or 100%, you sell half of it. Of course, this is not, let's say, clinical rules, unless that's your way of trading, but do allow some tolerance. For example, when you see a resistance level being at 85%, maybe at 90%, to make sure that if you are very close to this 2x or to this 100% increase, that you do get a sale to reinvest the coins. So what you do is you essentially take out your initial investment. That means that first, the rest of your position is profit money, in the sense that you do not have any risks anymore on this coin. You can just let it go for free, or unless you have a free runner. And second, of course, you run the position without any risk. It's still in profit, and your initial investment is in your hands at that moment. And then you can either do simply put three things. First, you can take a position in another coin, or you can put the Bitcoin into cold storage or another form of storage, or you can cash out to fiat as well, depending on, let's say, your style of trading and also the current momentum of altcoin season. So that means that when you plan to reinvest in other coins, it's important to keep track of the current status of alt season. When it seems that it's still in an early phase, it seems to make most sense to reinvest in other coins. The moment you have the feeling that, or you sense that alt season seems to come to an end or near a climax, anticlimax, what you would like to call it, then keeping your Bitcoin, let's say, in a storage makes most sense. One example on how sell half on the double works when you would put it in the same graph as mentioned before. So what you will see here is you will still have 5 possible entries. And what I marked in purple is the when the price is actually double of the entry. So the purple one is the first time that the entry of position 1, or this first circle, is being doubled. And what you will see is, that's indicated with the arrow, is that the higher you buy your entry into a certain coin, in this case it takes quite a while before you double up. That means you can sell here. But it also means that, let's say, if you get a bump like the Stratus coin, it also tends to slow down a bit. But do take into account that the double up that you will get here on position 5 will mean roughly a 13-14x on your first position. Do have a look at the price required to sell your half on the double and the time needed to get there. So even though it might seem that this is a very long arrow, it does still apply that you have to take into account that the upside from this position is significantly higher than, for example, buying your position here. I would like to give 2 examples, one based on theory and one based on graphs, showing how selling partials and reinvesting those profits can facilitate what they call an ROI multiplier. Let's take a theoretical case where I buy a coin ABC and I invest 1 Bitcoin into it. I just use 1 Bitcoin to simplify the calculation. So I take a early position in coin ABC, and after a while it doubles up. That means that my 1 Bitcoin will have turned into 2 Bitcoin. And even though it might seem that it looks very solid, maybe this double up occurred in just a few days, so I can choose to hold my coin and go for a 10x. But alternatively, and that's actually what the reinvestment strategy proposes, is you take out half of your position and put it into a new coin. Let's call this coin XYZ. And I have now 2 positions with each 1 Bitcoin. Then, after another period, my position of coin XYZ doubled as well, which means that I have another 2 Bitcoin here on this position. And again, I have the choice to reinvest. Do take into account, however, that under the condition that we have indeed an alt season, most likely my ABC will have increased 150% from the initial moment that I bought the coin. So then I have here another 1.5 Bitcoin as well. So take into account, I have this double up and I'm going to reinvest in my third position, and that's coin LOL. And that means I have another possibly early entry here as well. And again, after a period, this one is likely to double up as well, seeing we are in a true altcoin season. So I have 2 Bitcoin here as well, and the other 2 positions have increased similarly. That means I have another 2 Bitcoin, and the story can repeat itself time after time. The idea behind this ROI multiplying strategy is that essentially has no limitations. So you can take as many positions as you can handle. So when we look at multiplying the multiplier, we can also start with initially 3 positions. Not only ABC, but we also take coin DEF and GHI. And when they have doubled up, I will take 3 new positions. And after they have doubled up, I can take another 3 positions. So it means that essentially I can just build up an entire portfolio just for the sake of trading alt season and have an enormous multiplier on the different amount of coins that I can take. Therefore, taking into account the initial phase, here I only had 3 chances of an enormous pump, and by reinvesting now I have 9 positions to have a possible pump on. This is the idea behind multiplying your ROI. Let's take the example with the chart, explaining how this works. So I take the same 3 coins, ABC, XYZ and LOL, and what I did is I made a line chart from the Stratus price action, and then I'm just suggesting for this example that each of these coins will show the same price action as Stratus did. And what I will do is I will use, let's say, the same strategy as in the theoretical example. So I start with ABC. I will roll profits into XYZ and then roll my profits into LOL. And then, of course, there are 2 axes. On the y-axis, I have price or the potential profit that I can get. And on the horizontal, the x-axis, I have time. And that suggests that this is the time that I have while alt season is still moving on. So let's start with the first position, ABC. I take a position in ABC more or less at the point 1 that was shown in the previous chart, and I will wait until I have a double up. So I set a sell order at 200% of my initial buy, and then it will automatically sell the coin. So this is actually done based on the actual values of Stratus. So this means a double up. So I sell half of my ABC. So I have half of my position risk-free and I let it just run. And what I will do is I will buy a position in coin XYZ at this same time. Of course, there is some time lag, so I did not put it exactly the same time. I buy XYZ. After a while, that you can see, I have another double up from this position up to this position, and I sell it as well. If you look at it, here most likely I could have sold already, but just from the theory point of view, I sell it, and then I roll my profits into LOL, which I buy just after. This one I did not see because this one is actually mostly an accumulation, so for me there was no urgency yet to already get a position in this coin. But now I have another Bitcoin free to invest, so I roll it into LOL. And then after a while, especially when you are still in accumulation phase, a double up is very easy to achieve because the prices are still low, and with the first, let's say, volume coming in, you are likely to double up on your position. So this is when I sell my half a LOL. This is in theory how it works using the chart. So does it work? Show me the money. And as you already saw in the initial example, it does seem to work. So let's take into account when the chart, this was the point where I would sell my half on the double for my LOL position. So what I would like to do is compare this reinvestment strategy and compare it with only buying ABC and just hodling it. So this is the time frame on which I'm going to compare scenarios. And if I would have bought only ABC and hodled it along the way, at this point in time, my coin would have increased around 150%. That means that the 1 Bitcoin that I initially invested is now worth 2.5 Bitcoin. Comparing this with the reinvestment strategy, of course, it looks completely different. Because by the time that I'm here, as you already saw in the theoretical example, I do not only have 1 Bitcoin invested in my position of ABC, plus the percentage increase for half of that position from here, let's say, or half my position from here to here, the red mark. But I also have 1 Bitcoin invested in XYZ, plus the percentage increase from this entry up to here. And I have 1 Bitcoin invested in LOL that I plan to sell here, and I can invest in another coin. So that actually means that compared with just buying and hodling ABC, which would have given me 2.5 Bitcoin, which is of course also a very decent increase, now I already have a guaranteed 4 Bitcoin, which is 1.5 Bitcoin more, plus the percentage increases that I got on my free positions. So I think in general you can say that by implementing this strategy, taking into account, of course, this chart pattern, you could have already doubled your result, or doubled your ROI with regards to just buying and hodling 1 coin. And if you implement this strategy already early on in the alt season, then it means that if a pump could occur on any of these coins, you're of course going to multiply the profit you get from these positions significantly.